I have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
With Barbara Faversham away, we couldn't do much about the pursuit of her 40 thieves, as we'd christened her father's syndicate associates. Lately, I'd managed to rake the headlines a little, incidentally benefiting a charity here and there, and at the same time adding a small percentage to the grist of my own mill. Sunning myself one morning on my 2x4 flat veranda, I suddenly heard my morning buzzer go. This meant that someone was coming along the corridor to my flat. Then came the chimes at my door.
Good morning, Fletcher.
Oh, is it? Inspector Ben Ford, come in. But my query as to the qualities of the morning are necessarily tempered by the entrance of Scotland Yard.
You must have a guilty conscience. What have you been doing?
Well, last Wednesday I stole the crown jewels, and yesterday I robbed the Bank of England. Other than that, I've led a blameless life.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Though to tell you the truth, I sometimes wonder how blameless your life really is.
Well, upon my word, Inspector Ben, there are moments when you give me goose flesh.
Grey goose flesh?
Oh, any old colour. Dashed uncomfortable, too. Now, settle down and tell me why you've honoured me with an early visit.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've an idea you might be willing to help us.
Delighted to be on the side of law and order at all times. Or mostly all times. What can I do?
Well, you still maintain connection with your late father's firm, the Fletcher Safe and Lock Company, don't you?
Good heavens, yes.
And you're still adept with safes and locks yourself?
True. I'm also a very good pickpocket, card sharpener.
No ragging.
All right. I don't think there's a safe made that I can't deal with, given time.
That's just what I want to know. Now, I have a safe.
You've lost the key or the combination?
No, nothing of the kind. Look, stop interrupting. The safe I refer to is in a small house on the outskirts of London. I want to get at that safe and examine its contents. Everything points to this house being the meeting place of a group of subversive elements. Several of our boys have slipped in from time to time, but the safe has completely baffled them.
Well, why don't you raid the place, lift the safe and so on?
We just can't. We've only suspicions, nothing tangible enough to justify a search warrant. Between you and me, our boys got in under the lap. Officially, we mustn't act. One or two rather well-known and influential characters have been spotted going in and out. And there might be very trying repercussions if we ran foul of them.
Well, where do I come in?
Listen, we must have the contents of that safe. Now, you on? You'll have police protection as far as possible.
Well, with a cordon of police around me, I'll try.
You'll have no police cordon. You'll just have me.
Oh, right. I look fine in Dartmoor, sharing a cell with one-time Chief Inspector Ford. All right. When do we commence our criminal careers?
This very night. Say midnight? The meetings sometimes last till 11 o'clock.
Where do I meet you?
It's a small blur in a row of similar ones. Number 17, Crane Crescent, Ealing.
Do you think you ought to come yourself?
Why not?
Well, I was just thinking, someone may be hanging around and recognize you, especially those influential bigwigs you talk about.
No, I don't think so. In any case, I'll have to risk it. I can't let anybody else handle it. It's too hush-hush.
Just as you say.
Well, will you do it?
Oh, if I can. You say the safe is a terror.
Yes, every man has, as I said, been beaten.
Could happen to me, too. However, I'll give it a go and see, but don't count on it.
All right, thanks. See you at midnight, eh?
On the dot. 17 Crane Crescent, Ealing. Oh, when did your boys have their last try?
Oh, several days ago.
I hope they've left no traces. Might have raised some suspicion.
I think we can guarantee that. See you again, then.
All right. Cheerio. Dear me, dear me. I wonder if this is all fair and above board, Ben. I wonder whether you're taking me for a ride. I think I should have a look-see at this marvellous safe before midnight. Yes, that's the idea. Might prove very interesting. I think I'll get Charlie Austin to help.
Hello?
X here, Charlie. Do you know Ealing?
Who's he?
Ealing is an outer suburb, Charlie. Could you get out to a place called Crane Crescent at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, of course I could.
Well, about that time, I'll be walking down there. Join me, will you?
Righto, Mr. X. I'll be on the lookout.
Good.
That's you, Mr. X. Correct, Charlie. Anybody around?
Not lately. Few blokes coming home. Crikey, peaceful-looking types. Small city blokes, I reckon. Sort of 9 to 5 fellows in the office and 5 to 9 in the pub. After a hard day's work in the civil service.
Well, all seems quiet. So we have to negotiate number 17. Seen any life there?
No. Father ain't home yet, apparently. Mum's out and the kid too.
All right. No one at home, which is as we want it. There's a safe in there which I've got to have a look at, Charlie. I've got 2 hours and not a minute more. You ready?
Rightio.
I'll leave the front door to you.
Oh, easy, money. These villa doors have all got the same sort of lock.
Go ahead, then.
Enter, my lord. The passage awaits.
A very ordinary sort of place. Linoleum, cheap furniture.
And if they've got a safe, it'll be full of nickel silver teaspoons, I bet.
They have got a safe. Look!
Oh, crikey. Ooh, now there is a problem. This'll take a long time, Mr. Hicks.
Give ourselves till 11 o'clock, or 11:30, not a moment more. We'll take it turn and turn about. You start. No luck, Charlie?
Well, not too much. I can match the tumblers, but... Oh, there's another trick.
All right, my turn. Take a spell of keeping cavey.
How are you going?
Fairly well. Damn it, there are 11 eccentric tumblers in this infernal combination.
11?
Yes. It's a fine job of its kind. Foreign make, too. All right. At last. By Jove, Charlie, it nearly beat us.
Oh, not even a nickel teaspoon as a reward.
No. Doesn't it strike you as strange that a safe of this type should be in a small suburban villa?
That's right. And stuffed with papers and books.
Which we shall take back to my flat and examine at our leisure. Close it up, Charlie. Now, grab half of the stuff. I'll take the rest. Now, come on. My car's just along the road. What's the time?
Just 11:15.
My hat. It's a near thing. Just make it, I think. All right. Jump in.
What's the program now?
This, Charlie. When we reach the flat, pile all this stuff into a cupboard and sit tight.
You ain't coming in?
No, I've another appointment for 12 o'clock. Maybe back about 2. And don't let anybody in, even if it's the Lord Chamberlain or the King of Cadonia. Got it?
Okay, Mr. X.
That stuff we've lifted is dynamite, Charlie. And that house is no more a suburban residence than I am. Just back on time. I better stop here and walk the rest of the way. Think I did Ben an injustice when I thought it might be a Grey Goose trap. It looks like he's onto something special this time. Ah, number 17 again. 5 after midnight. And no Ben that I can see. Maybe he's gone inside and is waiting for me. Good Lord, what's this? A body on the path. Jumping Moses, it's Ben himself. Ben, gosh, too. Ben. Ben, wake up. Not dead at any rate. Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, what the blazes do you want now?
It's me, Fletcher. Look, sit up. Can you, if I help?
I think so. Oh, my head.
Look, Ben, this place is unhealthy. We can't hang around. Brace yourself. I'll drag you back to my car.
No. Let's go in. I'm all right now. Oh, it's you, Fletcher.
Yes, it's I. Lucky for you it is, too.
Let's get inside. It's urgent.
All right, if you still feel you can stand it.
Yes, I can. Hurry up.
Right. It's just a cheap lock on this door. both open. Come in, Ben.
Safe. Must open it.
Oh, do my best. It looks tough, though.
For heaven's sake, get a move on.
Well, we can talk while we work. You just sit down and watch. How did you come to get coshed?
I didn't. I came to meet you. Matter of fact, I strolled around here to make sure all was all right. Spent nearly half an hour. You see, I'd called off our boys for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly came the wallop and I blacked out.
Somebody must have recognized you as a flatfoot. I did warn you, Ben.
Yes, I know you did. I should have had an escort or an assistant to keep a lookout. How's the safe going?
Fairly well, Ben. It's a very tricky combination. 11 tumblers.
Exceptional?
Very. My fingers are nearly worn to the bone.
How long do you think?
I can't say. A few minutes maybe, or maybe another hour or so.
By heavens, you've got to do it quicker than that, Fletcher.
It'll be done when it is done, Ben, not before. By the way, this seems a most elaborate affair for a small house like this, doesn't it?
It is. As I've told you, there's probably a very good reason for having a safe like that. Oh, can't you hurry, man?
I am hurrying, Ben. 2 more tumblers to fall, and I shall open the door.
I must get a look at the contents. They're going to surprise a lot of people, Fletcher.
I think perhaps you're right, Ben. Aha! Here she comes. Great Scott! Empty.
No. No, it can't be. Hey, let me look. No, it's not empty. There's a feather in it. A confounded, impertinent, damnable grey goose feather.
What a climax for Inspector Ben Ford. We can just imagine the silent chuckle indulged in by our friend, the Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose. Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
Inspector Ford surprised me by asking me, as a safe and lock expert, to try and open a safe in a small house in Ealing. This house was under suspicion by the security boys, and the matter was, of course, very hush-hush. I promised to meet him at midnight. I decided to take Charlie Austin first and look things over. The safe was a very tough proposition, but eventually we got it open, picked up the contents, and disappeared. I then kept my appointment with the inspector. He was at the address all right, completely unconscious. He'd been slugged. Eventually I got him round, and after a show of great difficulty and much personal sweat, I opened the safe. It was, of course, empty, except for the goose feather I'd planted on my earlier visit. Under the circumstances, I was sorry I'd done this to friend Ben.
A damn grey goose feather. Otherwise, not even a cigarette paper. Oh, heaven, give me a chance to nail down that sinner.
So he's foresold us, Ben?
Yes, but how? How the devil does he know anything about this place, about police plans, security plans, and all that?
Maybe he was the man who cost you. But even as we must admit the Grey Goose has cleared the safe, he couldn't have been the kosher. He must have got away before you arrived on scene.
How do you make that out?
Big safe, lots of odds and ends. You'd have seen him leaving.
True. I know, or think I do, these merchants whom we think come here for their sticky business didn't have a meeting tonight, and
just as well for us. We'd have walked into a hornet's nest. But what were we going to say?
they probably left one of their number on guard.
Very likely. But if he saw you and suspected you, why didn't he kill you? Wait on. I think I know the answer to that one. He didn't have time. He heard me coming along.
I don't see that one.
Look, Ben, I had to meet you at 12.
Yes?
But you said you came half an hour earlier, strolled round. Then you sneak into this doorway. The watcher now knows you're up to no good. Bang! Wallop! You're out. But along comes an angel in the disguise of Rolland Fletcher. Your would-be assassin hasn't time to cut your throat or stamp you into the front step, so he does a bolt. Or does he?
Eh?
Quiet, Ben. What if he's still in the offing, listening, or
Doing a bit of PT, muscling up for the second round.
I hope he is out.
My friend, you are favored in that your hope is immediately realized. This is so seldom, eh? I am Ludovic Arpescu, Inspector Ebenezer Fort, at your service.
Never heard of you before.
But you have felt my presence, dear Ebenezer.
So it was you.
I had the honor of stunning you. As your friend so rightly surmised, I was on watch, and had I but a moment's more time, I should have dispatched you to regions unknown, which, however, we are taught to believe are joyous in the main. Now, gentlemen, hands on heads, please. It is impolite, I know, but I must search you.
Jump him, Ford!
Not so impetuous. I certainly have only a torch in one hand, but this other hand contains a Luger. Very powerful gun, eh?
Then why don't you use it?
Admitting that you would be better dead, I have come to the conclusion that some of my associates might wish to ask you a few questions. Well, apparently you are unarmed, which is good. Ah, Ebenezer, you carry handcuffs. How very convenient.
When do you expect your friends, as you call them?
It is now 1 a.m. They meet tonight at 8 p.m. The inconvenience of waiting will be yours for a matter of just 19 hours.
We somehow don't think your friends could be worth a wait of that long.
Oh, I do not expect you to like them, but I'm certain they won't like you, and that will be most unfortunate for you. Now, enough. Hold your right hand out, Ebenezer. So, the handcuff now, and the wrist behind the back, so. Now, friend of Ebenezer, put your back against your friend's. So.
I'm darned if I... Oh!
How like you a push in the face with a gun sight, eh? Behave.
Mr. Ludovic, what's your name? You will answer for that sometime.
Shut up! Right hand behind back. So. It's good. Now the handcuff. A position so difficult, is it not?
Nothing to the position I'll get you into before long.
Now sit down. Oh, I do apologize. Of course, it is almost impossible to sit down, isn't it? Alas, you must stand. Let me just put a light on. Inspector Ebenezer, you will now raise your left hand. So, over the window. High up. That is excellent. Just a moment. One move and I shoot. In this drawer are hammer and nails. Good. Once more the arm. So. A nail through the cuff of your coat to the highest extent of your arm. Excellent. And now you, my friend. Arm up, please. Left arm. So. Excuse me should I most inadvertently hit the thumb now and then. I'm only an amateur carpenter. But even as I nail, I can see to shoot very well. And that makes us very uncomfortable, does it not? I regret to leave you, but we shall meet again in approximately 18 and a half hours. Au revoir.
I've never been more uncomfortable in my life. Nailed to a wall and handcuffed to you like a limpet on a rock.
Ben, being one of my best friends, would you tell me, is the latter situation so unpleasant?
I can't see much humor, as a matter of fact, in this position. I've tried to wiggle out of my coat, but it's a sheer impossibility.
That cunning tripe-hound is the best hand I've ever met in the line of rendering one hors de combat. Jiminy, I'm getting stiff.
So am I. 18 hours to go. I say, I wonder what the Grey Goose took out of that safe. Confound him, he may have gummed up the whole works.
On the other hand, he may communicate with you.
Slender chance. It was to get a sight of those papers, if any, I dragged you in. Now, Lord knows where they are. Oh, heavens, this is agony.
You're telling me. But I'm gradually getting numb. Look, can't we move around a bit?
Not a hope. Wait on. We might tear our coats free of those nails. Try it.
That tailor of mine uses better cloth than he gives me credit for.
Mine too, but I pay cash. Aren't we a pair of comics? And talking of tailors, how do we manage to get caught with our pants down like this?
Oh,
18 hours more to go.
Ben!
Oh, Lord, why did you sing out? I was just about losing consciousness.
Listen.
Don't tell me 18 hours have passed.
Someone's just outside the door.
Perhaps our friend back again to see if we're dead. What's that?
Someone fiddling with a lock. So it can't be Garrulus Ludic. Pretend you're out. Unconscious.
Mr. X. Go, I found you.
I'm dreaming. No, it's Charlie.
Charlie? Charlie who? Great Scott, Austin.
You too, Inspector. Blimey, what's going on? What are you doing pinned up like a couple of butterflies?
Don't ask damn fool question. Get us unpinned.
Pinned? Why, you're nailed on.
Yes, we know, but would you kindly unnail us?
Yeah. Never get them nails out in a month of Sundays. Have to cut the sleeves away. You let me get my knife out.
Thank you. Ooh, I can't get my arm down. I think it's up here for good. I'll be a permanent strap hanger.
I'm certainly not far off paralyzed. Now the handcuff, Charlie.
I see. Easy.
I don't want a demonstration of your skill. There's a key in my right-hand pocket.
Oh, shan't be a brace of shakes.
Thanks.
Oh, funny. Oh, I've never opened handcuffs with a real key before.
How do you feel now, Fletcher?
Stiff, but vastly better. Now, Charlie, we've got to get a very definite move on. This place is about as healthy as a snake pit. You ready, Ben?
Yes, I think I've really had enough.
Well, now we can relax. Whiskey and soda, Ben?
10 whiskies and soda, please.
Charlie, you fix the doings, and while doing so, just explain how it was you descended into our little hell tonight like an angel from heaven.
Yes. How did you know where to find us? It's puzzled me.
Well, Inspector, Mr. Hex Fletcher said as how he'd meet me at his flat here at 10 o'clock to discuss a new lot we were interested in.
You're quite right.
Well, come 10 o'clock, no gents, see, so I'll wait till 11. Come 12, 1 and 2. So I think maybe he's gone off to a party and it's no use waiting. Then I has a brainstorm. I looks in his diary, and there it is plain as a pikestaff. 12 o'clock, Inspector Ford, 17 Crane Crescent, Ealing. Well, then I thinks, all police stuff. Hope he's not in any trouble. Yeah, well, I know the police, see. Begging your pardon, Inspector.
Well, don't worry about me, Charlie. After your effort tonight, I wouldn't run you in for murder.
Oh, pleased to be of service, sir. Well, came 4 a.m, and I began to fear the worst. So I gets the small car of Mr. Fletcher's and tears out.
What made you force an entry?
Well, I was suspicious like, so I thought I'd have a look-see, which I did, as you know.
With most satisfying results, Charlie. Let me shake hands with the most opportune and welcome cracksman I've ever met. With these words, Fletcher, I'm going to rest my weary and much abused body.
Well, so long, Ben. I think we shall sleep well tonight.
I think so. Good night.
Good night.
Phew. How did I go, Mr. Hicks?
Magnificent, Charlie. My heart was in my mouth. Have you ever written a book?
Why, no.
Well, you should. You're the finest liar I've ever met.
The Grey Goose is certainly well served by his little Cockney pal Charlie Austin. And apparently the ex-burglar learns ready wit and how to cope with an awkward situation from his employer, the Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
Inspector Benford was furious when, on opening the safe at 17 Crane Crescent, we found only a grey goose feather. Of course, I had been there previously with Charlie Austin. Dawdling on the spot, the inspector and I were imprisoned very uncomfortably by one Ludovic Arpescu, a very nasty type indeed. By a bit of most ingenious reasoning, Charlie Austin put two and two together and arrived in time to put the inspector and myself out of our misery. Later, at my flat, Charlie, by a bit of sheer bluff, put the inspector off our connection with what was suspected to be a headquarters of a subversive organization.
Must have been a rough deal, Mr. Hicks.
Never met it rougher, Charlie. I ache all over. Ooh. By the way, thanks for coming when you did.
Oh, think nothing of it, Mr. Hicks.
To be pinned up like we were is the sheerest agony. If you hadn't arrived, I don't know what might have happened. Thanks, old chap.
Oh, glad to be of service. But I still don't know the ins and outs.
You needn't worry about that angle. You've done your job. From now on, I take a hand.
You want me as a backstop all the same. Now, what's cooking?
All right. Here's the setup. That cottage is the HQ of a line of conspirators. You know, the overseas types of the usual traitor channel, diverting their energies to overthrow this and that and generally embarrass our British government's foreign policy. Now, we have their papers, and my hat, Charlie. There's names there which will, if published, create a small riot over here in England.
So we've got the wood on them, eh?
Owing to us getting there first, we know more than Scotland Yard and the security branch.
Very dangerous knowledge.
Now, that character, Ludovic Arpescu, didn't ring true to me, although his methods of tying the inspector and myself were very thorough. So in the morning, I'm going to find out something about him.
How?
Just this. That house in Crane Crescent isn't let to an ordinary tenant, Charlie. It's a meeting place of a group. What we've got to find out is who is the real landlord and what, and if he's got any connections with a certain mob.
I get you.
Right. Now, you get down to the Register of Properties in the morning and find out the name of the ground landlord of 17 Crane Crescent and all about him. Check?
Check.
Inspector Ford here, yes?
Good morning, Inspector.
Who's that?
Merely your friend, the Grey Goose again.
Oh, I haven't time today for tales of Robin Hood and such. Get off my line.
Oh, how brusque you can be, Inspector. However, what I have to say on this occasion will be much to your advantage. Let me just mention a certain number in Crane Crescent, Ealing.
Oh, what do you know of that place? Oh, yes, you got there first and planted your usual wretched feather in the safe.
I did. And as a matter of fact, dear Inspector, it was just as well I did.
How do you make that out?
Well, I ask you. Our friend Ludovic would have made things very much worse for you if he'd found those precious papers on you. I'm terribly sorry. You must have had a very dreadful night.
Yes, I did too. How did you know that?
How do I know quite a lot of things? However, this is not a social call, how are you and all that. It's a notice, if I may express it in so many words, to the effect that the contents of the safe
Yes?
will be delivered to you in just about 5 minutes from now.
What?
5 minutes from now, you should get the whole of the documents and other contents of the safe located at 17 Crane Crescent. My manager has just left them at your gate.
Right. Stop anywhere not a constable near the gate.
I heard that, Inspector dear. Too late.
Aye.
He's gone. However, the papers will reach you almost immediately now. And what a feast you're going to have.
Now, look here,
Inspector, that place in Crane Crescent is a meeting place.
I know that.
But it's, as you may also know, one in which those inimical to peace meet. Shall we say traitors, smart dealers in international finance, crooks who may, by defeating the law, manage to instill a rebellious attitude in the minor nations. Men whose main objective is to create international havoc and then cash in on the gory remains. Oh, good heavens, I'm becoming rhetorical. Excuse me.
You're excused. Now, what are the names? Quickly.
They're all on and in the documents. Ah, there's your papers.
Eh?
I heard the knock on the door. It's all yours now, Inspector. Goodbye.
No. Oh, confound him. Come in.
A packet left at the gate, Inspector.
Thank you. All right, you can go. Well, I'm... Oh, confounded, a goose feather with the parcel. Oh, well, I'll add it to my collection. Now, let's see what we've got. Good heavens.
You found his address and all, Charlie?
Of course. Here, look here, Mr. Hex. Claiborne Chambers off Park Lane. Jiminy, he owns the whole street. Crescent, what have you?
Learmont. Jewels. This is a man I must see. So, Mr. Learmont is the owner of the house in Crane Crescent, among others?
That's right. Looked it up in the property register. Anything on?
Yes, quite a lot, Charlie. You and I are paying a call this evening in the city.
I'm with you.
I said you and I. Now, to make the appointment. I can't telephone from here, too easily traced. Let's go out to a call box. Come on.
You know, Mr. Hex, you're sticking your neck out a lot these days. Here we are, opening up safes, breaking in, and not the razzo for all our trouble.
I know. But one of these days, Charlie, we'll go exploring again. Here's the lift. Get in. At the moment, we're in search of ideals.
Ideals is ideals, but cash is cash. Not to say necessary.
Yes, Charlie, as you say, cash is very necessary.
You're telling me.
Now, come into the phone box with me. This is a tryout. I may miss.
Rightio. You got the number?
It's Park 1189.
Yes. Mr. Learmont, good day to you.
Who's that?
Forgive me if I don't give my name. I rather wanted to see you privately, and your switch girl might...
I don't make appointments with nameless strangers. I deal in properties, real estate and such, but as I said before, I only deal with people who are prepared to come out into the open, names and all. So unless
No, don't hang up. It is about real estate I wish to see you.
Then why the secrecy?
Because the real estate is situated in Ealing. Crane Crescent, to be precise.
Crane Crescent?
Yes. I notice you're interested. That's fine. Now, will you make that appointment?
What's it about?
Crane Crescent. I assure you, Mr. Learmont, I can discuss that desirable neighborhood to your interest.
All right. What you can say unless it's a proposed purchase, I can't imagine. Come to my office at 3 this afternoon.
Sorry. Although my business is urgent, I can't manage a minute before 8 tonight.
But...
8 o'clock tonight, Mr. Learmont. And kindly see that no members of your staff decide to do a little overtime.
All right.
Good day, and I shall not be late. And knowing what I think you know, you'll not forget to turn up.
What's the strength of all that?
You heard?
Every word. He didn't seem anxious to talk about Crane Crescent. Why, I wonder?
Because, as you found out, Charlie, he's the owner of that little property. And I'm making a guess that he knows something of the goings-on at number 17.
Where we were, eh?
Yes. But you and I will examine those offices from top to bottom at 7:30 and make sure there are no odd bods lurking around the corner.
Think there might be.
It's hard to say. If he's an honest land and estate agent, there's no reason. At the same time, he sounded worried and may not be all he pretends to be. However, 8 o'clock will tell us.
Not a soul on that floor.
Good. That completes our survey. And now for Mr. Learmont's office. Put your mask on and listen. You are not Charlie. You are, Phineas. Yes, Phineas.
8 o'clock, Mr. Learmont.
Who's that?
Myself, Mr. Learmont. We have an appointment, remember?
Well, the door's not locked. Let yourself in.
Thank you. Oh, my dear Mr. Learmont, is the estate business so dangerous that you greet your visitors at the point of a gun?
Sit down, both of you. Good. As I told you on the phone, I don't like doing business with strangers who don't give their names. When I'm forced into such a position, I take precautions. And why the masks, in any case?
I don't think I blame you. Oh, the masks, just a fad.
All right, state your business. I can tell you now that none of Crane Crescent is for sale or tenancy, so that's that.
Somehow I think you'll be looking for a tenant at number 17 before long.
How? What do you know of number 17?
Something that you, as owner, should know. But if you don't, then I'm doing you a good turn by calling on you.
Go on. You interest me.
Very well, I'll enlighten you. Firstly, number 17 is a meeting place for some very doubtful characters. Did you know that?
How should I? I don't keep a constant watch on my properties. What sort of characters?
Those malcontents who, in a friendly country, take every opportunity they can find to disrupt industry, create dissension, sow the seeds of international discord and eventual warfare.
You say these people read my property, Reds and so on? How can you know?
That answer was in the papers.
Then it was you who robbed the safe. Take off that mask.
Aha! How did you know the safe had been robbed?
You know too much.
Look out, Phineas! The gun!
All right, Mr. Hex, he missed. I chucked the ink pot before he had a chance to aim properly.
Rolland Fletcher has actually tumbled onto something, this time on the side of law and order. Listen to the concluding chapter in this adventure of The Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
On this occasion, I was working with Scotland Yard, in the person of Inspector Ford. In his presence, I opened a safe in 17 Crane Crescent, Ealing, only to find a grey goose feather its sole contents. Needless to say, I'd been there before and abstracted such red-hot subversive stuff as would make a hydrogen bomb look like a drop of water. A character turned up by name Ludovic Arpescu. He got the wood on Ben and me, and for 4 hours we found ourselves handcuffed together and even nailed to the wall. Charlie Austin came to our rescue. The next day, I delivered the papers to Scotland Yard anonymously. Then I chased up the owner of number 17 Crane Crescent, a Mr. Learmont, and met him at his city office at 8 o'clock that night. He greeted us with a gun, but Charlie had a good throw into the wicket with an ink pot.
Good shot, Charlie. Grab the gun. Fine. Give you a chance to wipe your eyes, Mr. Learmont. Sorry about the clean shirt and the suit.
This is not the end, my friend. For the moment you've beaten me, but I'll still have the last laugh.
I'm sorry to contradict you.
You know certain things, yes, that's obvious. You've seen the papers from the safe, but listen to me, idiot. Do you and your miserable police organizations think you can track down each and every one of our company?
Yes. And how do you like that?
Listen. 15 minutes from now, I have arranged that if certain parties do not get a ring from me, they will come here to find out why, and you will be caught.
That would be most opportune, and I'll be sorry to miss the fun, because your friends will just be met by some very good friends of mine from Scotland Yard and an affiliation of theirs, the security branch.
You...
No, don't stammer. What I say is true. Now, in the few moments at my disposal, I'm going to amuse myself with examining your office.
I forbid it.
You forget, Mr. Learmont, my friend has your gun. Haven't you, Phineas?
That's right, Sir Garnet. I'll blow his head off if he so much as wags his ears.
Very good, Phineas. This one's locked. Keys, please. Thanks. Have you a hammer and nails in any of your drawers or cupboards?
What on earth are you thinking of?
Do you really want to know?
Yes, I do.
Then you must possess yourself in patience while I make a phone call. You have a phone, I notice, in the outer clerk's office. Excuse me. Phineas, keep your eyes and ears open.
Oh, but yes.
Yes?
Inspector Ford, urgent call.
Okay. Urgent call, Inspector. Yes, who's that?
Sorry to disappoint you, Inspector. It's your anonymous nuisance.
Oh, Grey Goose, all right, out with it.
I really do regret subjecting you to one of my whims by planting that feather at Crane Crescent.
All right, you did it. You made a fool of me. So what?
I am now trying to make amends. You must admit I did send you the very interesting contents of that safe.
Yes, you did, but with the assistance of my friend, I was quite able to get them myself.
Ah, yes, a very clever fellow, Mr. Fletcher.
In heaven's name... Oh, all right.
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Fletcher and I are well acquainted.
What do you mean Fletcher knows you?
More than passing well.
Then I shall have a piece of Fletcher when I see him.
I'm afraid, however, even he won't be able to tell you who the Grey Goose is.
We'll see about that. What's this call in aid of?
To tell you, my friend, that if you and your myrmidons arrive in 30 minutes at an address I shall give you, you will be able to lay by the heels the majority of those gentry you are so anxious to meet.
What do you mean?
Let us call them the Crane Crescent Gang. Interested?
By heaven I am. What's the address?
Don't be too impetuous. You must respect the 30 minutes.
Why?
Because I must necessarily make myself scarce before you arrive.
I see your point. But if I could catch this gang and you, too...
It would be a grey goose feather in your cap. However, my friend, forego the triumph for this time. If and when you do run me to earth, I'd like to be caught in better company than that of the traitorous rats you'll meet tonight.
Oh, all right. Now the address.
Wood Street, number 32, just off Cheapside. Keep your bargain, friend. Oh, just for company, I'll phone Fletcher. For reasons of which you may be aware, I think he'd like to be there. Au revoir. Now to return to my friend. Well, now, where were we, Mr. Learmont? Ah, yes, I was asking, have you a hammer and nails?
And I said...
I know what you said. Phineas, give me the gun and have a look-see in the outer office. Most offices have such things.
I shall search.
Now, don't think I can't continue my search without keeping you covered, Mr. Learmont, because I can. You know, I can't understand a man like you.
I am not interested in your limited understanding.
No? Well, it seems to me a man like you, a Britisher, must have fallen off a load of sweepings to voluntarily associate yourself with the international scum of Crane Crescent.
Spare me a lecture.
I'm sorry. Well, I haven't found much here, so I'll get ready to make an exit. Phineas, any luck?
Yeah. Box of tools coming. Oh, here we are. Now, what do we do? Nail up his mouth and pin his ears back?
No, Phineas. We perform a little piece of retaliation.
Carpentry. Very clever.
Now, take the gun.
Righty-o.
Mr. Learmont, stand against the door. Facing it.
I do as he says.
Lift your right arm. Higher. That's it. There, through the cuff of your coat. Good. Phineas?
I'll get the idea.
Now the left arm, as high as possible. So.
What do you know?
Shall I tell you? Yes, I think I will. Last night I witnessed a very painful lesson in nail driving. There. That fixes the arms. Now the legs. So.
My friends
will not be here in time. Permit me to nail this right trouser cuff. Now the left. So. Good. Of course, this little operation is familiar to you.
I do not know what you mean.
Yes, you do. Last night you performed a similar operation on some friends of mine, Mr. Ludovic Apescu.
You know?
Yes, of course. You fool. When you play two characters, you must change everything. You were very successful, nearly. Allow me to congratulate you on your two accents, English and, whatnot. You should go on the air, you know. The only thing you forgot was that stake ring on your hand. Oh, very careless. Oh, tut, tut, tut. Well, now I must really leave you. Your friends are about you, as are mine from Scotland Yard. A happy meeting. I wish I could be there to witness it. Good night, and best wishes from the Grey Goose.
Oh, home John, I reckon.
Not yet, Phineas. We're going to stay and see the fun. My hat, Charlie. You nearly gave the show away once or twice.
Well, I ain't no actor, you know.
Yes, I do know. Now, let's get out and down the street into Cheapside. Any moment from now, we shall see a gathering of the clans. Firstly, visitors from Crane Crescent, and then Ben Ford and the hordes from Scotland Yard.
Better take cover, eh?
Right. Over here. In that doorway. Aha. First car pulling up to stop. Look at them. Piling out. 6 of them. Huh. Wonder what they'll say when they see our friend nailed up to a door.
You did a good job there.
Huh? They've gone in.
Look like a bunch of Chicago toughs.
More dangerous, though, Charlie. Wait on. Police this time. Truckload of them.
Hi, mate. Over here.
All right. It's, two men here. 2 men found in the street, off we go.
Outback.
Saunders is closing up the other end. Yep. All right, in we go.
Come on, Charlie.
Do you think we ought to stick our noses in? I'm all for going while the going's good. I never like mixing it with the police.
All right. You can stay here if you like. But there's a good reason why I should see and talk to Inspector Ford.
All right. This time I'll sink their flaming prejudices.
There's Ben himself.
I can't let you go into Wood Street, so just keep clear, please.
But I wish to speak to Inspector Ford.
He's busy.
Nevertheless, I have to see him. I have information for him.
All right, I'll get him. But don't you try any jokes. Fred, tell the inspector there's someone here. What's your name?
Fletcher.
Tell him Fletcher. Nice time for the call, I must say. You've got an operation on any moment from now. I just hope for your sake the inspector finds you worth seeing. Oh, here he is.
What the devil are you doing here, Fletcher?
I'm a bit surprised myself, but I got a curious message.
From?
Well, an oldish voice said you'd be at this address, and as I'd be interested in what was going on, I'd better come along. He mentioned our little adventure of last night.
He did?
Yes.
Confounded, he seems to be everywhere. Oh, well, come on, but keep clear. There's going to be fireworks any moment from now. Matter of fact, that same voice told me you'd arrived. All right, Constable, keep that crowd back. Tell them to go to blazes. No one's allowed in Wood Street. Come on, boys! Get going! All right, come on. Here we go. All right, come on. All right, get on, men. All right, then.
Well, sit down, Ben.
Thank you.
Quite a night, wasn't it?
Quite.
Any casualties?
Well, they started letting guns off. That sort always do. So my boys replied in like manner, and unfortunately Mr. Learmont got his in a very fatal spot.
Learmont? Who's he? Or rather, who was he?
A recent friend of yours.
Of mine? I can't recall the name.
You and I met him last night. Only he then put on a very good foreign act. Called himself Ludovic Apescu.
My hat! The fellow who practically crucified you and me in Crane Crescent?
The same. And here's a funny thing, Fletcher. One of the men we nabbed talked and said when he and his pals arrived at Wood Street, they found him pinned to a door with nails through coat cuffs and trouser cuffs, babbling about the Grey Goose.
By Jove, sort of poetic justice, eh?
Fletcher, only you and I knew of that trick.
And the late Mr. Apescu. Oh, and of course the Grey Goose. Or apparently so.
Yes, apparently so.
Has Rolland Fletcher overplayed his hand? We shall see if we continue to listen to the adventures of the Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose. Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
Having participated in an adventure with Inspector Ben Ford on behalf of Scotland Yard and the security blokes, I began to bask in the sun of my own virtue. And quite suddenly, I woke up from this complacency to wonder a little whether the Grey Goose had slipped somewhere. With this idea in mind, I wasn't too comfortable when my warning buzzer went, and then the chimes at my front door. I opened the door to confront Chief Inspector Ben Ford himself.
Can I come in, Fletcher? Oh, I see you're all dressed up. Going somewhere?
Yes, Mrs. Deanwall's crush at Berkeley Square. You know, Ben, these calls from a prominent Scotland Yard official give a sort of cachet to my humble flat. Everybody says that man Fletcher's a big noise. Even Scotland Yard calls on him for advice. Commissioners, chief inspectors, MI5, foreign officials...
All right. My hat, I wish I had your sense of humour.
But you have been. You'd be surprised how many times you've handed me a good laugh.
Strange you should say that.
Strange? Why?
Well, sometimes I've wondered whether you were pulling my leg.
My dear Ben. Inspector, have a drink. You're not quite yourself. Surely you can't mean that.
I do? No, I won't have a drink. I'm on duty for one thing.
What duty?
Lady Formerly's jewels.
Jewels?
Yes, Lady Formerly's jewels. They were stolen last night, £8,000 worth. Were you at Lady F's place?
I hate to admit it, but I was.
Then perhaps you can tell me some of the details.
Unfortunately, although I was among those present, I didn't hear much of the ruckus. Left early. Oh, bored to tears.
Dreadful show, I believe. However, let me get back to where I intended to start.
And where was that?
Well, we recently had a little experience together at a place called Crane Crescent.
Only too true. Ooh, my bones ache at the recollection.
So do mine. But a thought has entered my mind. The Grey Goose insinuated himself into that adventure.
Much to our mutual benefit, Ben.
Oh, definitely. But how did he know things that only you and I knew? How the deuce could he know that that awful character, Arpescu, had nailed you and me to a wall? How did he open a safe and leave one of his confounded feathers inside?
Echo answers? How?
Exactly. But Fletcher, when that croaking voice rang me up last, he said he knew you very well.
Did he really?
Yes. But he also said you'd not be able to point him out.
Yes, that's the whole point, Ben. This Grey Goose chappie knows me, he knows you. In fact, he knows a lot of people we know. Our trouble is we don't know him.
The Grey Goose may be a man we even meet at our club. A man we rub shoulders with anywhere and everywhere. Why, he could be you.
What?
I said he might even be you.
I apparently heard you the first time. But why make such a shattering statement?
Don't let my ideas scare you. I say, and I think time will show, that our friend the Grey Goose is someone we know. Now, suppose it or he were you.
Don't say things like that twice.
Could you, as an ordinary citizen, account for all and every hour of your time?
What are you driving at?
Well, to put it in a nutshell, every time the Grey Goose was active, what were you doing?
Good gracious. I get you, Ben. Couldn't produce an alibi for £1,000.
Exactly. So you could be the Grey Goose.
Yes. But wait on, Ben. When the Grey Goose was active, I think you said.
Yes?
What were you doing? And incidentally, where were you? Don't answer that question. Yes, I see what you're getting at.
Yes. Well, I'm going to make a check-up of all the young blokes you and I know who might allow adventure and a certain amount of unscrupulousness to walk hand in hand.
Oh, how sweet, Ben. I like that hand-in-hand touch.
Oh, shut up. You know what I mean.
Definitely.
All right. Consider yourself warned. And you can tell any of the others who, goslings up to date, might aspire to become grey geese. All right? I'll see you later. Cheerio.
Well, I'm dashed. What's Ben driving at? Surely I haven't dropped a brick anywhere recently.
I'd better get rid of those formerly jewels, though. I think a little consultation with Barbara might help matters at this juncture. You in, Barbara?
Yes.
Well, work the old bookcase and come in.
What's on, Rolly? You sounded a little put out.
No, not a bit. But old Ben Ford has stuck his nose out a good deal lately, and is, I believe, slightly on the scent. Somehow I've got to put him off before that same nose leads him direct to me.
Is he as close as that?
No, I don't think so. In fact, I'm certain he's not. But he's as wily as a fox is, our Ben. Now, we've got those formerly jewels here, and just in case of accidents, I'm going to get rid of them at once.
All right. How do you set about it?
I thought of a way. You shall dress up again, a double for me, wear the very natty dress suit and all the trimmings. Don't forget to put on the moustache.
I've never forgotten any of the details so far.
Good girl. Now, here's an invitation to Mrs. Deanwall's do in Berkeley Square, a huge mausoleum of place. Hundreds of dithering dudes and desperate damsels.
Oh, with whom do I dance? A dude or a damsel?
You don't dance with anyone. You present your card, walk through the rooms, turn round, come out, get into your car, then drive back here. Not to your entrance, but to this flat, mine. Take off your top hat, throw it across the room, help yourself to a whiskey, and smoke one of my cigars.
Good heavens.
Sorry, but yes. In fact, you make anyone who's on the lookout think I've been and gone and returned.
Meantime, you're somewhere else.
Exactly. I go into your flat when you're ready to come here, and I go out of your door at the back, dressed as our old friend, Mr. Jenkins.
Can I ask where you're going?
You can and may. I'm taking the doings to Charlie Austin.
But he's no fence.
Certainly he isn't. But he'll find a good hiding place for them temporarily.
Mind you, I think you're going to an awful lot of trouble. Ben Ford may think suspicious thoughts, but he's got nothing to go on, surely.
Well, I hope you're right. But just come over to the window. Mm-hmm. On your knees. That's it. Now, just one eye in the corner and gaze down onto the street.
What am I supposed to see?
You're not supposed to see anything unusual. At the same time, there is something unusual there. In the doorway opposite.
A man. Yes.
A flatfoot, my dear. A cop.
Watching for you?
Yes, like an anxious mother waiting for her firstborn to return from school after his first day.
Now I'm beginning to see.
Good. When you change, you come in here. Shortly after, you go down the lift, get into my car, drive round to this crush, and carry on as we arranged.
I do see the idea.
It's my bet our little friend opposite will follow you. That's his little rattle trap down the street. And keep glued to you till you return. You see, I told Ben I was going to Mrs. Deanwall's, so he would just like to know that I did go. Now, hop off and change, then buzz me when you're ready. I'll then nick out through your place.
Right. See you soon.
Shop's closed.
Oh, bad luck. Charlie, it's Mr. X.
Blimey. Hold on a moment. Right, good evening. Yeah, what's the game? You ain't Mr. Hex, who are you? Up it now for a dongs you one.
It really is me, Charlie. Just a bit of touching up here and there.
Oh, well, now, of course, I knows the voice. I can tell it's you. Here, come inside. Well, you could knock me down with a feather and no mistake.
I'm glad it's so good. The fact is, I'm Mr. H.C. Jenkins, now travelling abroad. He had the flat back of mine, and while he's away, I leased it to Miss Favisham, and, of course, you know the bookcase trick.
Didn't I fix up the patent lock for you? Now, what can I do for you, eh?
Just put these in a safe place, if you will.
Holy mackerel, sparklers! Mr. Hex, I can't take them.
Well, of course you can't. But you can show me a hideout for them.
Yeah, I reckon I can. Here, put them away before they blinds me and leads me into temptation. Come on, Mr. Hex Jenkins, sharp's the word. There's an old junkyard back of here, see? I got the safest case for 'em you ever did see. Just follow me. Mind your step.
You're sure the bloke who owns all this junk mightn't come across your hiding place sometime when he's cleaning up a bit?
Of course he could, but it won't matter.
Well, who is he?
Me.
Oh.
Now stoop down here.
Yeah.
Now, just here is a little wall safe, see? My own invention. There you are. Now, in with them. Ah, good.
Now, you'd better vamoose.
Yes, I think I will, too.
Out the back way, through that there gate into the alleyway.
Right. See you again soon.
OK. Let me know when you want the sparklers.
Yes?
You're still in my flat, then?
Of course. I'm doing my act, parading up and down past the window. I've even got my dress coat and vest off.
Well, don't overdo it for the sake of a mere flatfoot.
You coming back here?
No, not yet. You come through to your flat.
Let the catch of the bookcase go on your side. Well, I'm glad you're back. I don't think I like smoking cigars much.
Well, dash into your bedroom now and get into feminine clothes tout de suite. And tell me how things went.
Good. I'll be very glad to. Well, as you said, our friend followed me all the way. Even parked his little buggy tail on to the Daimler.
Impertinence.
Well, I presented my card, your card at the door, strolled through the throng, got me a drink at the bar, coughed into my handkerchief every time anyone looked like speaking to me, then beat a fairly strategical retreat back to the car, gave the doorman 10 bob of your money and got back here, followed by our friend who's still with us.
Excellent. Now you can go and tell Ben I was never out of his sight for a moment.
Well, how do I look now?
Better than in a dress suit, but...
Who's there?
Ben Ford, Miss Faversham. I have a word with you.
Oh,
Ford.
Just a minute, Inspector. I was just going to bed. Give me a chance to put something on.
I'll trot back to my place. Switch on your microphone.
Right. Coming, Inspector.
We did suggest that Rolland Fletcher had overplayed his hand. This may prove a tough problem for Fletcher, so listen to the further development of this adventure.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose. Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
That canny inspector, I believe, suspicions me, as they say in ye olde English. The formerly diamonds are missing. I think Ben has an idea about the Grey Goose. At any rate, I got a surprise when I found one of Ben's flat feet watching my place. So I sent Barbara off, disguised as me, dress suit, slightly greying moustache, to impersonate me at a crush in Berkeley Square. She's my perfect alibi. Ben's man followed blindly and even returned to my flat, tailing her. Meantime, I'd gone out the back of the building and cached the jewels with Charlie Austin. Returning by way of Barbara's flat, we compared notes, and quite suddenly, a knock on the door was followed by a request from Inspector Ben to be allowed to speak to the lady herself. Exit me to my own flat through the revolving bookcase, Barbara turning on our little speaker equipment as I went. Thus I was able to hear what went on.
So sorry to keep you, Inspector, but I was just preparing for bed.
No, not at all, Miss Faversham. I can only ask you to forgive a rather late call. You are alone, I take it?
Yes, definitely.
Just as I rapped on your door, I thought I heard a man's voice.
Inspector Ford? Oh, really?
No, I'm most terribly clumsy, I fear.
You did hear a man's voice?
Oh, then I'm determined.
Not a bit. You heard my pin-up actor on the wireless in my bedroom. Well, now sit down. Can I give you a drink?
No, thanks. The fact is, Miss Faversham, I just wanted to ask you something about your tenancy of this flat.
Good heavens, don't tell me, Inspector, that you're going to fair rent me or grope for some extra key money.
You must be seeing quite a lot of my friend Fletcher.
How?
That is, your little quips and quirks rather resemble his style. He has a flat in this building, I believe.
No. He has a flat in the adjoining building. This one faces one street, his faces the other. There's what they call a party wall between the two. Is there anything else I can tell you?
Yes. Your landlord is a man called H.C. Jenkins.
That is so. He apparently bought this suite some years ago.
And to whom do you pay rent?
To his solicitors. Webb, Fawcett, Webb and Bryant. Fancy me remembering names like that.
Have you ever seen Mr. Jenkins yourself?
Never. I gather he's an elderly man with a penchant for travelling.
Travelling?
Yes, you know. America, Shetland Isles and all that.
He's not in America or the Shetland Isles, Miss Faversham.
No.
No. The hall porter downstairs is certain he saw Mr. Jenkins leaving the entrance hall of these flats tonight.
No. Oh, wouldn't it be dreadful if he's come back from Manitoba or Siam or some such place and wants his flat back?
Very awkward indeed, Miss Faversham. Well, thank you very much. I won't keep you any longer. I think I'll pop in and see Fletcher on the way home. Is he in?
I couldn't tell you that.
Hasn't rung you?
Why should he?
Sorry. Well, I suppose I'll have to go round to get to his place.
Yes. Take the lift down to the ground floor of this building, turn left, then down a narrow court. Turn left again into Mr. Fletcher's street, then it's the first big entrance on your left. Go up in the lift to the second floor. It will take you about 3 minutes.
You seem to know the details of the route very well.
It's wonderful, considering I so seldom follow it myself. And, Inspector, I don't think I like that last crack. Good night. Impudence. What? Still there, Inspector? Can't you find the lift? It's just there.
My shoelace came undone.
Oh, there's more light at the end of the passage. Mind you don't trip.
Yes.
Rolly.
Yes?
He's coming round. Better get into your dress togs, but leave coat and vest off as I did when I was doing my act in your rooms.
Have done. All right, I'm reversing the speaker set. Keep your ears open.
Right, but be careful. By the way, who is Mr. Jenkins?
I'll tell you later. You've met him but half an hour ago.
You?
Yes, I. Now cut the cackle. He's about due, the sly fox.
Aha, he's in the passage.
You in, Fletcher?
Yes, coming. Who is it?
Ben Ford.
Welcome, my dear sleuth. Or are you?
Eh? How do you mean?
Well, if you've come for a drink and a smoke and a chat, you're welcome. But if you've come to search me for somebody's silver plate, go away. I haven't got it.
Well, that relieves my mind considerably. Now, before I have the drink, a question or so.
Oh, I'm going to be a quiz kid, am I? I warn you, I don't know a quadratic equation from a lunar eclipse. However, fire away.
Where did you go tonight?
Answer that one yourself, Ben. Or ask the other quiz kid. That flatfoot you planted opposite my front door.
Eh? I assure you,
He's
Fletcher...
already told you I've been to a crush in Berkeley Square. Stayed 15 or 20 minutes, came back here, took my coat and vest off, smoked a cigar at my window, and so on. He followed me there and followed me back here. And why? It's my turn to ask you now. Why?
Oh, matter of form entirely.
Matter of bad form, I think.
Hold your horses, Fletcher. There's been a little over-enthusiasm, which you'll have to forgive.
Well, explain why.
Yes, well, I will. Recently, as you know, I've been rung up by a character with an aging voice claiming to be the Grey Goose. This character foolishly used the call box just adjacent to this building, and that made me suspect he came from somewhere handy.
A fair assumption, but not very conclusive.
True. However, we chased round and followed a lot of tenants, including yourself.
An ancient voice and a grey goose. Oh, thank you.
He struck a blank. Everyone appeared young, smart, and not a bit aging. But then we hit on someone who remembered an eccentric old chap called H.C. Jenkins. He used to be a tenant of a suite over in the next block.
Oh, hang on a moment, Ben. You've got nothing there.
Oh, I agree. At the same time, I'd like very much to see Mr. H.C. Jenkins.
Why?
Well, he's the only one round here we haven't checked on. Incidentally, he happens to be the landlord to whom Miss Faversham pays her rent.
Well, the rest's easy. She'll give you his address.
Oh, no, not a bit of it. He's generally travelling from, place to place.
Oh, one generally travels that way, doesn't one?
You know what I mean. Now, here's the strange thing. The hall porter of the block of flats at the back of this one swears he saw Jenkins go out of the front door tonight.
So he's not at present travelling from place to place. Didn't one of your bloodhounds chase him?
Missed by an inch. The old codger jumped a taxi before my chap could catch him.
Oh, bad luck.
You haven't seen him by any chance, have you?
I may have done. I've been in this neighbourhood a few years now, but I've never noticed your friend to my knowledge. However, I'll keep a lookout.
Do. All right, I'm afraid I'm keeping you up.
I am a bit tired. That party was a crashing bore. Now, what about a nightcap?
No, thanks. I'll search my roost myself, I think.
Smoke? Have a cigar?
Oh, no, no thanks.
I'll take one with you.
Why should I?
Give it to your flatfoot down below. He's been standing down there a long time watching me smoke 'em.
That's his job. Good night. I'll let myself out.
Right, Ben. Cheerio.
This gives me seriously to think. Wonder if he's playing the same trick as he did on Barbara.
Hello. You again.
The lift's down the passage, Ben. Surely you remember.
Yes, yes, of course I do. I was just looking for...
That's at the end of the passage to the right. See you soon.
Ben, laddie, somehow you've got your nose down on the trail, and I don't like it very much. This calls for a bit of a powwow. Think I'll get Charlie Austin along as well as Barbara.
Well, you've heard everything, Barbara. And you, Charlie, we've briefed up to date. Now, I want you both to understand that this is my battle. And if the worst comes to the worst, you both keep clear and let me do the wriggling.
Not on your life, Mr. Hex. We'll circum this here Ben bloke. But what I can't understand is this here Jenkins angle. You came down to my place tonight dressed as Jenkins. But what about Jenkins himself? Isn't he likely to bob up and queer the pitch proper?
Charlie, my boy, you certainly haven't got it. There never was a Mr. H.C. Jenkins.
What?
I said there never was a Mr. Jenkins. Some few years ago, Mr. Jenkins bought that flat unit.
I thought you said there wasn't no Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins was me.
Eh?
Yes, I, Mr. Jenkins, that is, fixed that angle. It was a backstage exit when I wanted one. You connected the bookcase between the two rooms.
Well, I'm blowed.
Later, Mr. Jenkins' solicitors granted a tenancy to Barbara.
And what happened to Jenkins?
He went travelling. Now have you got it?
Then it was you, the old portal, so earlier this evening.
It was, Charlie. Confoundedly careless of me. Well, now, being met together, as the Atlantic Charter puts it, we've got to plan to confound Ben Ford. The question is, how?
Can't let the Grey Goose get plucked.
No, we can't.
I've no plan as yet, but I have an idea.
We can do with one, goodness knows.
The only way is a temporary separation.
Eh?
I don't agree.
You haven't got the idea yet. We stick together, are all seen in one place, and yet alibied to the last syllable.
Ah, gotcha.
You, Charlie, shall be Mr. Jenkins.
What?
Don't worry, I can make you up all right. You, Barbara, will again be seen out as Rolland Fletcher.
What about you?
I shall also be Rolland Fletcher. And between Barbara and myself and you, Charlie, I think we can make Inspector Ben giddy. Quiet. Who the devil's that? Hello? Who's that?
Is that my friend, Rolland Fletcher?
Yes, this is Fletcher. Who are you?
A well-wisher. I am today somewhat notorious. Matter of fact, I'm almost famous. Must have an anonymous but good publicity agent. They refer to me as...
As what? And don't beat about the bush. As what?
The Grey Goose.
What? I mean, who?
Blow your ears to my receiver, quick.
You heard me. The Grey Goose.
Well, I'm very flattered to meet so eminent a gentleman. What can I do for you?
Nothing. But I can serve you with a little advice.
Jolly nice of you. What is the advice?
Miami, Florida, or even the Lido are all nice places for a rest.
I don't want a rest.
I'd take one if I were you. I have it on good authority that an old school friend of yours is thinking hard in terms of feathers.
Well, that'll be difficult for you, won't it?
Good night.
Hung up. Well, what do you make of that?
Chinese puzzle to me.
Me too.
Holy mackerel. That was Ben Ford himself. A poor effort histrionically. I could almost smell the ink on his desk and the cheap varnish they use at Scotland Yard.
Fletcher is used to dishing out surprises himself, but to have one thrown at him like this leaves him nonplussed. Only for the moment, however. To hear more of the episode, listen to the continuation of this adventure of The Grey Goose.
I have
have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
I had cached the formerly diamonds with Charlie Austin and immediately thrown Inspector Ford off the scent for a moment. But with bulldog tenacity, he'd followed a trail that led him to me. I called a council of war with Barbara and Charlie Austin and myself to endeavour to establish alibis. Imagine our consternation when the telephone rang, and I was addressed by the voice of one who said he was the Grey Goose, and suggested that I, Fletcher, should take a holiday in distant parts. Suddenly, I woke up to the fact that the voice was none other than that of the inspector himself.
Rolly, you don't think so, really?
I do. For some reason, Ben is warning me that he's tumbled.
Why should he?
Old school tie stuff. Ben, as you know, was at school with me before he became a flatfoot. However, we mustn't be scared.
Scared? I, for one, have got complete wind up.
Well, as I said before, only stone-certain alibis will fit the circumstances. Thus, Barbara will impersonate me. You, Charlie, with makeup, will be Mr. Jenkins, as I said.
But what do I do?
Now, wait just a moment, one thing at a time. This is going to be very complicated. What I've got to establish is that I and Mr. Jenkins are in more than one place at a time.
That's the idea, to flummox the inspector.
I've got it. Charlie?
What?
You, disguised as Mr. Jenkins, will be in Paris tomorrow morning.
Paris, eh?
Cool, suits me.
Well, don't make a welter of it. You catch the morning plane as Mr. Jenkins. I'll fit tickets and all that stuff. You'll stay at the Maurice.
Here, why not the Moulin Rouge?
Because that's a music hall, not a hotel.
The Moulin Rouge would do me.
You'll stay at the Maurice. Shout your name at the reception desk so that everyone can hear you.
H.C. Jenkins.
So, in the meantime, the gendarmes are or have been notified that you're about to arrive and will check on you. Here's the passport of Mr. Jenkins. It'll be a perfect likeness when I've done with you.
But wait on, what is all this? Why did the gendarmes go for me?
Because Scotland Yard has notified every airport on the continent to keep a tag on Mr. H.C. Jenkins.
And then what happens?
This. I also, dressed in my old character of H.C. Jenkins, appear in the morning to the hall porter next door. Ask him how my tenant's behaving and how is so-and-so. Then you have Mr. Jenkins in two places at once at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Heavens. Ben Ford will have a cerebral hemorrhage thinking that one out.
I trust so. Now, you're set, Charlie, aren't you?
Yep, set as a jelly.
And now, where do I come in?
You remember my cottage in Hampshire, Barbara?
Oh, yes. That's where we did the taming of the shrew.
That's right. Well, tomorrow you go down there, dressed in my sports suit, driving my Daimler, with your own bag stowed in the boot. In the bag you'll have a change, a frock and all that.
Right.
There's nothing more certain than that one of Ben's men will tail you to the cottage. About 5 miles from the cottage you'll start losing your tail. Go round every turning till you are sure that you've lost him. As soon as you can, ditch the car and make like blazes for the cottage on foot, carrying your overnight bag.
This is going to be very pleasant, eh?
It's going to be very necessary. Now, listen carefully. Arriving at the cottage, you'll change quickly into your frock. You're staying for the weekend, for a rest. Park my suit out of sight, very much out of sight, and await a call.
A call?
Yes. From Inspector Ben Ford, either in person or one of his sturdy henchmen.
And where are you all this time?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Now listen. While Charlie Austin, Mr. Jenkins, is in Paris establishing his bona fides, which Charlie you can depend on, I am Mr. Jenkins here, asking for the health of my fair tenant and anything else I can think of. That's at 10 a.m. Then you, Barbara, are chased down to the cottage an hour later, looking terribly like me. I am here in the flesh, as myself, where all Scotland Yard and sundry can see me. And if that little set-up doesn't give friend Ben a pain in the neck, nothing will.
Oh, blimey, Mr. Hex. You are a one.
Not a one, Charlie. A 3 on this occasion. Of course, although I created these alibis, I couldn't be present to witness them taking their places in the scheme. But later, the different angles were related to me, much to my satisfaction, needless to say. The Paris angle worked with Charlie, and at 10 o'clock the same morning, behold me addressing the hall porter.
Good morning.
Why, Mr. Jenkins. Good morning, sir. So you are really back with us?
Well, only for a short spell, you know, Riley. I'm not very fond of London these days.
You'll be wanting your old flat back?
Oh, no, I think not. In fact, it's not in my scheme of things to disturb the ladies. How is she, by the way?
Very well, I think, Mr. Jenkins. Very nice young lady, that too, sir. Keeps herself to herself, like.
Good. Doesn't want anything, I suppose? Repairs and whatnot?
Never mentioned it to me, sir.
Well, tell her to communicate with my solicitors if everything is not entirely satisfactory. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So far, so good. Alibi for Mr. Jenkins okay. And if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the inspector's men watching me. I returned to my own chambers very unobtrusively and reinstated myself as myself. Making myself conspicuous, I strolled around my usual haunts, continually followed by another shadow. Later, of course, I learned the truth about Barbara and the cottage.
At last, the cottage. 2 miles in rain and slush, and worn out. Now for a change. This suit of Roland's is saturated. Better light a fire, I suppose. That's better. Now, where to put this suit? Copper, I think. Well, the immaculate Mr. Rolland Fletcher will just love this. Well, now for my own frock, to get dressed in my right mind again. There now. Come weal or woe, Richard is himself again. For Richard, read Barbara. Uh-oh. Wonder who the visitor is. Yes, who is it?
Is Mr. Rolland Fletcher there?
The murmurings of the law. No, he's not. Please go away. I'm changing.
Sorry to be a nuisance, but I'd appreciate it if you'd let me have a few words with you.
Impossible. Why should I open the door to strange men in a lonely place like this?
I assure you, miss, you need have no fear. Look, I'll push my card under the door.
All right, do so. And when I've read it, I'll decide. Go on.
There it is, just coming under.
Thank you. Detective John Fergus, C.I.D. Good heavens, police!
That's it, miss.
I can't think what you want with me. However, if you are from the police, come in. I think it'll be rather glad to have a policeman round in this lonely spot. Come along in.
I'm most anxious to contact the owner of this cottage, Mr. Fletcher.
Well, I can assure you he's not here.
But this is his cottage?
Certainly. He lent it to me.
And you say he's not here?
I resent the insinuation.
I'm sorry. You see, we followed him down here.
Why?
Orders, miss. He did come here?
No, he didn't. I drove down myself.
But he did come with you?
I said no. Matter of fact, I had a puncture 2 miles out on a bypass, and so I walked the rest of the way.
A bypass?
Yes, a bypass. If you go back that way, you might still find the car. I'm going back as soon as it clears a bit to change the wheel.
And you're sure he didn't make the journey with you?
Listen, Mr. Policeman, you're inside. Go ahead and have a good look round. If you can find Mr. Fletcher here, you can write me up in the News of the World or the Police Gazette. Now, go to it. Mr. Fletcher isn't here, but he's lent me his cottage for a few days' peace. When you've gone, I'll start on the piece.
All right, miss. I'll disturb you no longer. Obviously, we've missed Mr. Fletcher. Excuse me.
You're excused. Goodbye.
Goodbye, miss.
Well, his plan seems to have worked. Good heavens, the abandoned car. Suppose they find it. No puncture. Better go and get it. Oh, Lord, what had I better do? Let me think. Yes, I think I can wangle it. Thank heavens for a Mac. My friend, what I go through for the sake of an alibi is nobody's business. Lord, if it were only fine weather. Still, somehow I've got to get to that car. At last, the car. Well, at least the wretched policeman hasn't found it yet. Well, here goes. Ah, that voice. A detective, what's his name, I think?
Hello, miss.
Hello yourself. Are you the local ghost?
How's that?
You seem to be haunting me.
I'd just like to know why you came in search of this car.
I came to put the spare wheel on, which I've done. And if you think Mr. Fletcher's in these parts, you'd better go on looking. As maybe you've noticed, Mr. Fletcher is not here.
Is there any reason why he shouldn't seek the shelter of his own cottage if he were in these parts?
Yes.
What reason?
Just me. Mr. Fletcher happens to be a gentleman. He also happens to know, having let his cottage to me, that I'm alone there.
I see.
I didn't think you would. Now, if you don't mind, I'll push on. And I suggest that if you want to find the gentleman so urgently, you try the village pub or his flat in London. Once more, goodbye. Oh, if you feel like following me, do so.
Being, of course, busy establishing myself some 90-odd miles away, I wasn't aware of all this charming encounter of Barbara and the detective. And it wasn't until later, very much later, that I got the whole story. You know, that's the worst of alibis. You can't be in more than one place at a time. And you consequently miss a lot of the fun. Don't you?
As Fletcher says, alibis can be very confusing. And on this occasion, he's weaved a tangled web of them with Barbara Faversham and Charlie Austin, his friends. Don't forget to listen to the finale of this clever scheme of The Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
Inspector Ford was so hot on the trail of the Grey Goose that I had perforce to set about making up a few alibis. And for this purpose, I sent Barbara down to my cottage disguised as myself. She's the perfect double. Then I, as Mr. Jenkins, the elderly owner of Barbara's flat and its late occupier, engaged the hall porter in conversation. Meantime, Charlie Austin flew to Paris as Mr. Jenkins, and for certain was checked up on. Later, I made myself conspicuous as myself in town. So there was Mr. Jenkins, both in Paris and London. Rolland Fletcher was in town at his flat, but the police had tracked him down to his cottage in Hampshire. Inspector Ben Ford was, I hoped, developing a nervous headache. Hello?
That you, Rolly?
Yes, you, Barbara?
Yes.
Where are you phoning from?
A call box in the main road.
Good. How did you get on?
Tolerably well. I was followed, managed to lose them, left the car, and got to the cottage unobserved.
Good.
I was only just changed when, lo and behold, enter one of Ben Ford's limbs of the law, a CID man, Fergus, who practically insisted that you were down here with me.
So that bit worked.
Naturally, I was virtuously outraged, and he departed slightly deflated.
Good, very good. And then?
I told him I'd left the car in a bypass because of a puncture. Later I went back for it, and who should walk in on me just as I was on my way back but the law again.
Hey, what about changing the tires and all that?
Oh, I did that. Let the wind out of the spare and muddied it up a bit.
Good girl, that's splendid. You're learning.
Thank you. It was just as I'd got started up, he bobbed up.
What happened then?
Oh, another bit of an argument, and it ended by me telling him more or less that you weren't in the offing. Rolly.
Yes?
Be very careful. I'm certain this tail of mine is going to hang around my neck, so I'll probably find it very difficult to phone you again how things are down here, or send you any warnings.
All right. Leave it to me. You've been a good wench, Barbara. Hang on at the cottage and try to look as if you were enjoying it. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Well, at any rate, someone thinks I'm in Hampshire I can just imagine that flatfoot combing the countryside. Now, for a telegram for Charlie to ring me up from Paris.
Yes, sir?
Overseas telegrams.
Right, sir. Go ahead.
H.C. Jenkins. Hotel Maurice, Paris. Phone me on receipt of this. R.F. Repeat, please.
H.C. Jenkins, Hotel Maurice, Paris. Phone me in receipt of this. R.F.
Right. Send that at once, please. And now to wait for Charlie. Ah, this must be it. Hello?
That's you, Mr. Hex?
Yes, Jenkins, isn't it?
That's right. Got your telegram. So here I am on the blower. This call's costing about 1 million francs, they tell me.
Oh, blow the expense. Now, how have you got along?
Well, I met a couple of good sorts down
All
at the...
all right. Cut out the trimmings.
Then they takes me to the Bataclan.
Now, for heaven's sake, Charlie, leave your love life out of it.
The Moulin Rouge was just top hole. Ring off. Someone's standing too close.
I get you. Well, I'm pleased to hear from you, Jenkins.
Why don't you come over here for a spell? It's great. I hope I'll be seeing you then. Cheerio. Bon Santi. I'll ring again.
Pretty good work, Charlie. So he's still being tailed. Well, I'll have to hang about till he gets another chance. Yes?
That you, Mr. Hex?
Yes. All clear now, Jenkins?
Yeah. I slipped another 1 million francs to a character in a low pub south of the river. I reckon my friend thinks I'm safe enough in here.
Safe? How safe?
Well, I'll put it in this way. The place is full of fluesies, see? So probably he reckons I won't have no time for telephone calls.
You're a psychologist, Jenkins.
No fear, not here. Just a looker on.
Oh, all right then. Report.
All Sir Garnet. I've been trail, of course, but I've led a harmless life, and maybe they're getting a bit slack.
They don't think Jenkins is up to anything, of that I'm sure. But they're anxious to know who Jenkins is. You see, when you were checked in Paris at the airport, Mr. Jenkins, that's me, was busy talking to the hall porter.
Good on you.
Now, get the plane back tomorrow. When you get to Croydon, come up to town as Jenkins, of course.
Check.
Book in at the hotel you know of. Go to your room. Then come downstairs and try to lift another of the keys from the desk belonging to another room.
Oh, easy. Gus will give me one in a jiff.
Oh, well, give Gus a fiver then. And then go up to that room, change entirely there and get that stuff off your face.
Shall I come along to you then?
To me? No fear, no fear. Go to your own place and I'll ring you.
Okay. I'll just have a last look in at the Bataclan place and then get on my way.
Yes, do that. Well, that, I think, sews it up. And now for an appearance at the club. At this juncture, I felt I'd earned a little relaxation. And I was feeling quite elated because I was certain that my little alibis were just about watertight. Now, of course, I was quite unable to gauge Inspector Ford's reactions, or even visualize what was happening at his end. And it was many moons afterwards that Ben confided in me the facts of a very stormy interview he had with his superintendent. However, to keep you posted, it went somehow like this, as far as I can remember Ben's story.
Well, Super?
What do you mean, well? It's not well at all.
Yeah, I agree, but...
But we'll have no buts. Owing to your vivid imagination, you've got me into trouble with the AC.
made a laughing-stock of Scotland Yard.
My vivid imagination, Super, conjured up what we all thought was a bright idea.
That a very well-known and wealthy citizen was your idiotic Grey Goose. I hate to mention the gentleman's name, even. There's libel, there's wrongful arrest, and what not entailed.
I still feel...
Don't feel anything.
If you'll permit me, sir, my idea is not impossible.
It is. Look the facts in the face, Inspector. You persuade me to let a man tag our friend, all over the place. Right?
Yes, sir.
Then a man follows him down to Hampshire, where he has a little cottage.
Yes?
This crazy man of yours goes to the cottage, and what does he find?
A girl. Miss Faversham. A close friend of the gentleman we're talking about.
Nothing to do with it. Why shouldn't he let his cottage if he wants to? But now listen. How could this suspect of yours be followed by your man?
He was.
Madness. Don't be so darned obstinate. Another of your men clung to him like a leech here in town. London, Middlesex. Not Hampshire, man.
I admit it's all very confusing.
Confusing? It's ridiculous. Now, from here, we go off on another ridiculous tangent. You get a bee in your bonnet about a harmless old gentleman called H.C. Jenkins.
I'm certain that Jenkins, this old gent, has some connection.
How?
Well...
no, don't bother to answer. Old man Jenkins spends most of his life abroad since he let that flat to Miss Faversham. He's, however, well known to all and sundry in that neighborhood, especially the hall porter, who says he saw him and spoke to him in the hall while one of your men tailed him for Lord knows how long in Paris.
It certainly does appear impossible. And yet there's a trick been played. And one of these days I'll do a bit of conjuring myself and produce the Grey Goose, and he'll be who I think he is.
You think so, do you? Well, listen to this letter delivered half an hour ago, addressed to the Commissioner himself, and handed in to me with a please explain. It goes like this. Dear sir, it has come to my knowledge that a certain well-liked and popular man about town has inadvertently come under the notice of the police. While admitting that our police are a most worthy organization, they do commit some gross errors at times, and this is one of the most flagrant. As I have told you, I know the gentleman quite well, but I assure you, he himself would find it impossible to nominate your humble servant, the Grey Goose.
So that meandering screed doesn't mean a thing.
It doesn't it?
Anyone could have written it.
Tell me why, in heaven's name.
That is at present unanswerable. But with your permission, I shall carry on the basis that I feel I can build a case on.
At any rate, withdraw these men of yours, or we'll be getting into trouble.
I will. And I'll set about finding the Grey Goose in another way.
Well, as I said before, that is the gist of that portion of my Operation Alibi, which I was to learn in the far distant future. But to return to where we were, I called a conference a few nights later with Barbara and Charlie. I'm glad to see you back, Charlie. Everything seems to have gone well.
Somehow I think we're out of the wood. That detective has disappeared from the Hampshire place.
And my shadow has given up haunting the street opposite. Yes, as Charlie says, I think we've flummoxed Inspector Ford for now.
Only for now?
Yes. He's confused, admittedly, and will never sort out our alibis in a month of Sundays.
But you still think he won't give up?
No, I don't think he'll ever give up. But for the moment, he's a bit breathless, and thus we can take it easy for a spell.
You mean me? I shall have to give up my chase?
Oh, no. No, of course not. But we'll just have to stop helping ourselves here and there. Which reminds me, Charlie, the formerly jewels.
Safe as a church, Mr. Hex.
It's a funny thing. This case started with them, didn't it?
I'd like to get them sparklers off my chest.
All right. We'll do that almost immediately. I may have to take a trip to Amsterdam. Who the deuce can that be? Keep your voices down. Hello, who?
Ben Ford, Fletcher.
Why, how are you, Ben?
Oh, very well, thanks. And you doing anything tomorrow evening?
Not that I know of.
Care to dine with me at the club? Game of billiards and such?
Delighted, thanks.
6 o'clock, eh?
Right-ho, cheerio.
The inspector.
Blimey.
As you say, Charlie, blimey.
This cordial invitation from the inspector leaves Fletcher and company a little nonplussed. What it portends, we'll find out in the next adventure of the Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose, Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
So far, I felt a little elation in that I'd kept my alter ego a secret. And yet I felt a little doubt here and there. Inspector Ben Ford was getting hot on the trail. I knew that he guessed that I was the Grey Goose. Thus, I was quite surprised when I received a telephone call from him to dine with him. Charlie Austin and Barbara, who were with me at the time, were alarmed a little, I think. Barbara said later...
Don't go, Rolly.
Nonsense. The date's at the club. It wouldn't do for me to eschew the club. Ben's a member, you know. I've no alternative.
All right, but be wary. Inspector Ben's no fool. And, incidentally, Rolly, while you're playing round with him for pure devilment, you're losing touch with our main objectives. The 40 thieves.
Not a bit of it, my dear. We've sent quite a few of them into a nosedive. One by one, they've been crossed off the list.
There are 24 more left, you know. Do you realize that when I came back today, I looked down the list, and I felt like screaming.
Darling, that list makes me scream sometimes.
My dad's in jail still.
Yes, I hadn't forgotten. But as nobody knows better than you, we've been terribly busy putting Ben off the track.
I know, of course. But, Rolly, we've done quite a bit of altruistic stuff lately.
Altruistic stuff? My dear wench, although we haven't brought grist to the mill, we have succeeded in pulling the wool over the eyes of Scotland Yard. We have now a little breathing space.
Space to follow our main objectives.
Right. The 40 thieves. Now, whom would you nominate next?
Gilbert Sanderson.
Who's he?
An art dealer, and definitely of the 40. This is a great chance, Rolly.
Go a bit further.
He's in Paris at an art dealer's convention or such.
I see. And, my dear, because Gilbert goes to Paris, you see a chance for what?
I see a chance of examining his belongings.
Oh, dear. A sort of unofficial search warrant.
Put it that way, if you like. But I would like to find out how he ticks, what he does.
You mean breaking and entering while the respected art dealer is away on the continent? Rifling his safe and so on?
That's exactly what I mean.
I've brought you up very badly. Well, maybe this Gilbert Sanderson is a crook, as you think. Maybe he's just an ordinary art dealer, gone for a play with other art dealers in Paris. So what?
He's on our list.
Right, so he is. All right, then. When do you propose to drop in on his safe deposit?
Tonight he gets back from Paris. Actually, he'll arrive in the early hours of the morning, I expect.
Well, it can't be done.
Why not?
Well, don't you realize I'm to dine with our distinguished bloodhound, Inspector Ben, this evening?
Oh, I had forgotten for the moment. Oh, well, I suppose Sanderson must wait.
He certainly must. Well, rest in peace, my child. We'll attend to Mr. Sanderson in good time. Incidentally, didn't I quite recently make it clear that we'd better lay low for a bit?
Don't tell me you got scared.
Remind me sometime to slap you down for that.
Sorry. But I'm very disappointed as regards Mr. Sanderson.
He'll keep. Now, let me once more remind you, I have a date.
The blonde?
Yes, the blonde and debonair Inspector Ebenezer Ford at the club. Remember?
All right. I'll stay here listening to the radio and get bored stiff.
Glad you could make it, Fletcher. A drink?
Yes, thanks. Whiskey and soda.
Whiskey and soda, Stewart.
Yes, sir. 1 minute.
How was Hampshire this weekend, Fletcher? Enjoy it?
Hampshire? Enjoy it? Now, Ben, don't pull my leg. You know I haven't been to Hampshire for months.
No?
Definitely no, Ben. Oh, I know you've had a few of your sleuths watching me.
Watching for Mr. H.C. Jenkins. I've explained that.
True. So you did. But if they were watching Mr. H.C. Jenkins, why were they wasting time going after me to Hampshire when I didn't go to Hampshire? Oh, rather involved, that.
How do you know a man went after you to Hampshire?
A lady friend of mine was run to earth by one of your boys who insisted I'd gone down there, right?
Yes, in a way.
Ben, you know perfectly well I didn't go to Hampshire. Your boy tagged me all round London, didn't he?
Admitted.
Right. Then don't let's beat about the bush. Why ask me if I enjoyed Hampshire?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm a bit off the track. Let's forget it. Here's our drinks.
Ah, thanks. Cheers.
Cheers. Look at our club mates.
Oh, yes. Very stodgy these days.
Hardly imagine that out of that lot we had 2 soccer teams and a full rug of 15 and a reserve. Couldn't muster them today.
Time, inexorable time, Ben. Gout, slip cartilages, grey hairs. Oh, sorry, grey's not your colour, is it?
If you're referring to geese of that colour, definitely not.
No news?
No news, except I'm the one-armed moron of Scotland Yard these days.
Ooh, that's very bad.
So bad, Fletcher, that if I bump into him, there's this Grey Goose, I shall shoot first and ask him questions afterwards.
In that case, you won't be shooting to kill.
Well, of course not.
Well, that'll be a relief. For the Grey Goose, I mean.
You know something, Fletcher?
What?
There are moments when I think...
When you think what?
That you know something about this Grey Goose fellow.
Hence your tendency to let slip the dogs of war on my tail, eh?
In a way, yes. You see, the old codger...
Oh, codger? He'd resent that, I'm sure.
When he rings me up, which is too often, he sounds old. But let me go on. He says he knows you.
We've had this out before, Ben. We've accepted the fact that he's one of us, an acquaintance. That he does know me, probably knows you, but you, unfortunately, don't know him.
Do you?
Do I?
Yes, do you know him?
I'm as powerless to answer that question as you are. Let's go into dinner, shall we?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Steward.
There's a gentleman in the anteroom to see you, sir. Says his name's Capel. Constable Capel.
Capel.
From headquarters, he says, sir.
Now, what have you been doing, Ben? Or does the Assistant Commissioner want to know why you were out when he wanted you?
His apologies, sir, but he says the matter is urgent.
All right. Excuse me, Fletcher, order something for me?
Right. A filleted commissioner on toast?
I shan't be a moment.
Will you take your order, sir? I'll pass it on to the dining room.
Steward, would you see if there's any goose on the menu?
Goose, sir? Why, it's only mid-June. No goose till late autumn. They don't kill 'em till then, sir.
That's fine. I'll have quite a lot of time at my disposal.
Excuse me, sir?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking aloud. Well, we'll order some steak. Filet mignon au champignon and some a sauce for the gander.
Yes, sir. I'll ask the chef. What to follow the filet mignon?
Sorry to be so long, Fletcher.
Oh, not at all. Business before pleasure, of course. It was business, I gather.
It was business.
Hope you squared the hall porter. He may noise it abroad that a constable called for a member. West End club scandal and all that.
Well, that angle's been looked after long ago.
Something worrying you?
Yes, my chief worry. Or a sort of connection with my chief worry.
Your chief worry being?
The Grey Goose.
Ah.
This event seems to be divorced from him, although there is a connection.
Can I ask, or must I keep out?
Well, there's no reason why you shouldn't know. The connection is a feather.
What? Not a Grey Goose feather?
Why are you so interested?
Well, dash it, you hum and ha, beat around the bush so much. And this feather's so much in evidence these days. Can you wonder? I get a bit excited.
Well, as I said, it was not a Grey Goose feather.
Then what's worrying you?
Just this. Some of the patrol boys found a big house in the West End unoccupied and the front door open.
How careless can one be?
They investigated. Everything appeared to be in order till they reached the study.
Yes. And who,
The safe in the study had been ransacked.
Oh, these burglars. But wait on, Ben. You can't be concerned with ordinary burglars.
Ordinarily speaking, no, but you've forgotten something.
What's that?
That feather.
Ah, yes, the feather. You said it wasn't a Grey Goose feather.
That's right, it wasn't.
Well, what sort of feather was it?
Seem very interested.
Well, of course I am. Do you remember I helped you once in this feather business? When I proved a certain job was planted on the Grey Goose?
Yes, you proved it wasn't him because the feather on that job wasn't clipped.
Yes. Hence my interest in this particular feather. Go on, man, tell me.
This was a white feather, stuck in the safe itself.
A white feather? Now, what the devil would that mean?
Generally an indication of cowardice.
And whereabouts, if I may ask, did this burglary take place?
The house of a well-known, or probably the best-known picture dealer in town.
What?
Gilbert Sanderson.
Great Scott!
Does that register with you?
Yes, I know him a little, or did. By Jove, he's got some fearfully valuable pictures in his keeping.
Silly idiot, to my mind, going away to France and leaving him. What do you make of the feather?
Candidly, I make nothing of it. Which isn't helping you at all, is it?
No, not much. Look here, man, I'm awfully sorry to shorten our evening. I have to get a move on. This Sanderson business brings me once more into the picture.
Now, half a minute, Ben, just before you go. Tell me, do you suppose this white feather is connected with your Grey Goose and his feathers?
In a way, you know, Fletcher, I've a suspicion it's a sort of challenge.
A challenge?
Yes, sort of a dare. A white feather, as I just remarked, is a symbol of cowardice.
Yes.
This was a small swan's down, fluffy type. Well, now, I must really get a move on. I'll give you another ring in the near future.
Good.
So long, don't you rush off.
Right-ho. A white feather, eh? Cowardice. A challenge? Now, what the devil? Oh, Steward.
Sir?
Just plug in a phone for me here, will you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. No answer. Not in. Oh, well, I better go and investigate. Not a soul about. Barbara! Barbara, where are you? Sorry to intrude like this, but I must try all doors. Barbara! Definitely no one at home. Well, I think I shall wait for her. If what I think happened is the case, Barbara has just about put her head in a lion's den. Confound it. Don't tell me she's not to be trusted.
What has planted the seed of doubt in Fletcher's mind? Listen to the further developments in this story of The Grey Goose.
I have been here.
The Grey Goose. Adventures of a Modern Robin Hood.
Dining with Ford at the club, we suddenly received news of a burglary at Gilbert Sanderson's place in the West End. Now, this gentleman was an art dealer in a very big way. Incidentally, he was away on the continent and was, furthermore, one of Barbara's 40 thieves, and one she was urging me to strike at. Things being a little hectic, I'd refused to act for the time. Ben Ford was informed that a white feather had been planted at the scene of the crime, and hopped off to investigate. With a little misgiving, I called in at Barbara's flat, only to find her out. I waited a few moments, and suddenly the door opened.
Rolland Fletcher.
In the flesh. None other, in fact. I'd like a few words with you.
About what? How was dinner, and how was our Ben?
Dinner was fine, up to a point. Ben was also on good behavior, up to the same point.
Well, what is, or was, the point?
I'm coming to that. Quite suddenly, he received some news.
Bad?
I think it was. At any rate, it took him off, hell for leather, to the scene of the robbery.
A sort of everyday business appointment for policemen, you might say.
This wasn't. It was an exceptional burglary.
How exceptional?
I come to that in a moment. But I can say it was the exceptional part that sent me here.
Oh, so I was in it?
I think so. Now, cast your mind back an hour or two. You were going to spend a restful evening listening to the wireless, but you've been out and are wearing street clothes.
All right, Sherlock. What is exceptional in street clothes for the out-of-doors girl?
Nothing. And as a matter of fact, that black and white effect is charming.
Thank you. Now, what's all this leading up to?
All right.
Earlier, you were a bit peeved, not to say angry, when I knocked back your suggestion that we investigate a certain picture dealer and art connoisseur.
I certainly was.
I intimated the time was not ripe, but you said it was, especially as our friend was in Paris.
That's so. We were missing a golden opportunity of exploring the place. He must have left something there which might help us as regards my father.
More than probably. But, as I said, we are on very thin ice with Ben Ford and can't, just at the moment, take too many risks.
Well, so what?
You, my little idiot, decided on a lone wolf adventure.
What do you mean?
I mean, Barbara, that what sent Ben Ford off on an ordinary burglary was the presence of a feather on the scene.
But not a grey goose feather?
No, my dear. A white feather from a swan. One of those fluffy ones with down on it. Exactly like those you're wearing in that boutonniere in your lapel.
Rolly.
Yes, rocked you a bit, that, didn't it? I think if we examine that charming accessory, we'll find one has been plucked out and was for a time abiding in the townhouse of Mr. Gilbert Sanderson.
You're too terribly clever. Sometimes I'm frightened of you.
The whole thing's elementary. Now, don't worry, but I'd like to know how you set about this business.
While you were out, I sneaked through the bookcase and borrowed your jemmies and things.
My jemmies and things? God, such an unholy reference to my precious tools of trade is like alluding to Michelangelo's chisel as a crowbar.
Well, at any rate, I borrowed them, and I was able to use them.
All right. Now, for brass tacks. Where's the loot, the coin, the diamonds you got out of Sanderson's safe? Incidentally, I might remark, I rather resented that white feather.
I was a bit of a fool to do that, but I was sore when I did it. At any rate, I apologize.
Well, there's one saving grace about it. Ben Ford won't know what in the heck it means. By the way, give me that ornament from your lapel.
Why?
Why? Oh, why? Here, give it to me. Thanks.
Oh, that trifle cost me 3 guineas and you've set fire to it.
Well, there's one blessing. Should you faint, these burning feathers will bring you round. Now, the evidence being destroyed, let me take a look at your ill-gotten gains.
They're just outside in the lobby. Here, I'll get them.
What on earth? No diamonds? No gold moidors or pieces of 8?
No, canvases. Masterpieces. 20 of them in this roll.
My sainted aunt. Utrillo, by Jove.
Utrillo? Who's he?
An artist of the French school. Walked in the footsteps of Cézanne and all that crowd.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm glad I didn't waste my time.
These ought to be worth a tidy little sum. Though I don't know how we're going to realize on them.
That's all there was in the safe, I'm afraid.
So you took them, packed them up, and returned here with them.
That's right.
And you thought this little escapade of yours might spoil Ebenezer Ford's evening.
I rather hoped it might be a sock in the eye to you as well.
How very right you were. Much and all, as I hate to admit it. Howsoever, there's an odd thing about you, Trillo, this painter Johnny.
Odd? What do you mean, Rolly? I think these scenes of streets and lanes and canals are marvellous.
No argument on that account. But if Utrillo painted all the pictures attributed to him, then I fear he must have crammed 9 lives into one. America, for instance, is ablaze with forged Utrillos.
Forged? Forged? These?
Barbara, why the excitement?
I just remembered something. About 6 months before all the trouble started, my father mentioned something about Sanderson having a young French artist in tow.
He did? You're sure?
Yes. And I remember Father saying that there was something mysterious about it all. It might be jumping to conclusions a little, but perhaps...
And a very likely perhaps. Engaged in a really cheeky art fraud.
Why not? After all, Gilbert Sanderson, for all his prestige as a dealer, wasn't above indulging in a shares fraud. Nor was he above letting Father take what you call the rap.
Precisely. And these paintings, for all their beauty, could be forged Utrillos. Do you know who this young artist is?
Oh, that's just it. I can't remember his name.
What about your father?
My father, in case you don't remember, is residing much against his wishes at a place called Dartmoor.
What of it? There are visiting hours?
Not for weeks yet.
But his lawyers could see him, if the reason given was strong enough.
Well, yes, I suppose so.
Then, my pet, you'll get onto that first thing in the morning. I've a friend, old Isaac Wakely, who's an art expert, and he can be trusted to tell me the truth and still keep his mouth shut. Maybe we are really on to something.
Then my solo effort wasn't such a bad idea after all?
Magnificent as it turned out. But I'm still smarting over that white feather.
Wonder what Inspector Ben's doing about it.
You know, I should spank you. And, come to think of it, why not send for Ben to help?
I received your message. Let me tell you, sir, there's no need to apologize for the mask. After you returned my treasure to me last year, I know you only as a friend.
Well then, Mr. Wickley, I shall proceed with the reason for this rather secret visit. This object here is a bundle of oil paintings of average size. I'd like to show them to you if you have time.
Oh, by all means. Here, on the table.
Thank you. As you'll see, I have 20 all told in the bundle. There we are.
Yes. Utrillo, I think.
So it seems to my average eye, Mr. Wickley. But I wonder if I might have your expert appraisal after closer examination.
Oh, indeed.
You'll pardon me if I don't reveal how they came into my hands.
Understood. But 20 Utrillos? Why, you've a fortune on your hands.
If they are genuine Utrillos.
Ah. You're aware, I perceive, that the style of this very fine artist has been studied by many forgers?
Yes, I am. And I've reason to suspect that they may be forgeries.
Well, then, first of all, let me say this. Never before have I seen any one of these 20 canvases.
No?
Though I must admit, this canal is familiar, this terrace, this riverbank scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, therefore, on the score of subject matter, I would say, yes, these are Utrillos. However, I have had experience in detecting false Utrillos. The canvas, the brushstrokes, the varnish must all be considered. And now that I have one canvas, another canvas, under the magnifying glass, yes, I think I can safely say, yes, I...
They're Utrillos?
No. I mean, I agree with what you suspect. Yes, these are forgeries. Yes, I'm much afraid that is the case.
Then I've stumbled upon a very nice little racket.
Oh, indeed so, yes. These canvases are excellent. They would be passed by most experts, I'm sure.
Unscrupulous ones, especially?
Well, much as one dislikes admitting that our ranks have been infiltrated by an unscrupulous minority, I must say yes.
Then let me say this. For God's willing, I'll be weeding out one of your unscrupulous colleagues. Thank you for your help, Mr. Wickley. The name's Felix Brassard, you say, Barbara?
That's right, Rowley. And according to the information passed on from Dad, he was occupying a studio in Chelsea. I have the address here in my handbag somewhere.
Start rummaging for it on the way.
On the way? Where to?
Chelsea, to call upon this artist.
But we can't just barge in on Mr. Brassard and say, do you forge Utrillos?
Oh, perish the thought. We'll be there to see if the gentleman will agree to painting a portrait of Mademoiselle, and if so, for what fee. Personally, I wouldn't touch you under 1,000 guineas.
I suppose that is supposed to be a compliment.
My dear, could I pay you anything but a compliment, even when spanking you?
Yes, Rolland Fletcher. About that threatened spanking.
Another time. Come along now.
It's no use, Rowley. We've rapped on the door dozens of times. He's not at home.
It's strange, though. The milk bottle's still on the doorstep.
Perhaps he goes out to imbibe in the dark hours of the night and stays out until midday. You know these artists.
Yes. All the same, I think perhaps we should...
What are you up to this time?
Just getting one of Charlie Austin's bits of work into action.
Oh.
In other words, my jack-of-all-trades skeleton key. And I don't think we'll have much trouble with this one. There we are. Now, to swing the door ever so gently upon his hinges, and...
Rory!
Steady, my girl.
He's lying in a pool of blood. Oh, what a ghastly scene.
I fear someone's been here before us, Barbara. Felix Brassard is very dead.
Listen again when Rolland Fletcher inquires into the strange circumstances surrounding the death of the young artist in the next episode.